Good morning and welcome to the It's Your Effin' Journey podcast. My name is Melissa Hemming, and if a life coach and a therapist had a baby, you would get me. I am here today with some exciting announcements and a discussion with just yours truly regarding communication in starting new relationships. And this is inspired by my recent binge of Love is Blind. New season 8 just came out this weekend. And if you live in the Northeast, we have had just snow all weekend. So thank you to the snowstorm for allowing me to have this episode for you. But what I want to share first, let's start with our song. What time is it? Podcast time. It's a celebration. What time is it? Podcast time. And I have a mimosa because it's Sunday morning. And as I said, we are all snowed in and iced in here. I just did the driveway. And this is what I want to share because this is really exciting news for the podcast. I've been trying to think about ways to grow the podcast and also make it more of a learning experience for you, because I know a lot of people are liking the interviews, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper. And this is, I think, a really exciting way to do this with you and also bring in my expertise from the sessions that I have and the experience that I have with working with so many people in a therapeutic setting and in a life coach setting. So this is what the podcast is going to be like from here on out. And obviously, things may change and shift as I grow and as I see how this works. And I want to hear from you guys too. I always want to hear from you about what you like, what you don't like, what you're thinking, what your takeaways are. I love to hear it all. This is for you just as much as it is for me. So what I'm thinking is moving forward and really starting to roll this out from March. Is a format of you'll still get an episode every single Monday. Every single Monday, it will either be me, talking about something that's come up either in sessions or my life or whatever, Netflix, or an interview with someone else like you have been listening to. And then I think twice a month, or maybe even more, depending on, again, how this goes, is 2 times a month, you're going to get a deep dive into either sessions that I've had in life coaching or therapy, sort of like examples of how I've helped people and or how I can help whatever topic we're talking about in that session on the Monday, whatever that looks like, either how I would work with someone with those issues in therapy and give tactical advice to you at home about what you could do to overcome some of these issues. And also sprinkled in a little bit of behind the scenes stuff that I'm dealing with and sort of in real time struggling with, because I know a lot of you guys like to hear those things too. And I do want to give you that, but in a more helpful way, if that makes sense. So, and that's going to be a subscription. So $10 a month, you get access to those 2 episodes and more, depending on how that goes, of really what you can do to move yourself forward. Things that I work with people in my practice, ways that I suggest to them to, struggle with anxieties or overcoming, barriers to their self-confidence. So it's going to be, I think, really good. And I'm really, really excited to bring you a deeper look behind the scenes. So what I want to talk about today is this, what I love about Love is Blind is how raw and real it gets in those pods. And I know this is a reality show. I know, there's so much we don't see behind the scenes, but I really do respect a lot of the conversations that they have. And the reason this relates to me so much right now is because I am, at least I was, sort of talking to people and opening the doors to letting new people in my life in a romantic / sexual way. And this shit is hard. So I consider myself to be single since September. And so I've been sort of, as I said, going out of my comfort zone in meeting new people, in having conversations. And what has been really eye-opening to me is that even though I am so confident and so what's the right word? Like, I guess assertive. I guess I would have considered myself to be, although I considered myself to be those ways before entering the wild, as I call it, singleton dating life. It's fucking hard to say what's on your heart and to stand up for yourself and possibly be rejected or turned away because of those principles that you stand on. And I wish I could sit here and tell you that's not the case, that I am firm in my, abilities to say what I want and say what I need. It has not been the case. And this has been a really eye-opening experience because I have to walk into every situation just like I did in my marriage, remembering me, who I am, what I stand for, what I want, what I will am willing to accept, and the energy that I'm receiving from another person. So so some things that come up in Love is Blind, and I'm not a religious girl, but one thing that I do love about like the Catholic Church, for instance, is that when couples are getting married into the Catholic Church, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, they have to do like premarital screening, and they're asked simple, what I think are simple questions, just like they talk about in Love is Blind, about what they want their life to look like, what are their core values, how many kids do they want, what is that, uh, if they don't want kids and they are going to if they struggle with infertility, what does that look like? Are they open to IVF? Are they open to adoption? And I know when I look back at like my first two marriages, um there were a lot of discussions that we didn't have, and nobody sort of encouraged us to have them, right or wrong. And I don't believe in regret. I was supposed to marry Justin and have Kaylin. I was supposed to marry Tucker and have Declan and Madikit, and be here to share these stories and experience those relationships for the gifts that they were in my life. I don't regret them for a second. But for me now, sitting in this place and moving forward into developing more relationships in my life, I do want to only give my energy and time to the people that I am able to communicate my important things on. I don't want to have a relationship that doesn't align with me, that I'm constantly trying to sort of make sense of. I want to be really clear with who I am. The same shit that I've talked about in being on social media and even on this podcast. Like, if I'm sort of not being my authentic self, I'm not going to attract the kind of person that I want in my life, because it's not going to be based on reality. So so this has been really, really eye-opening. So I sort of wrote down a bunch of questions that I would, if someone came to me in session and said, hey, we want to do premarital counseling with you, what would you ask us? So I sort of just jotted down some notes. um One question is, who are some positive role models that you have for marriage in your life? And I know for me, this is a good one, because where who have you had model marriage for you? And what does that look like? Is it a marriage that you want to emulate? Is it a marriage that you're like, I don't want it to look like that? And I remember growing up, I always looked at my parents and I was like, I want to have more, like, I want to cuddle more with my spouse in the future. Like, I don't want to, like, I didn't like how they would watch TV on separate chairs. Like, I was like, I'd like to be like cuddling. I remember that being something that was important to me as a kid. Who are the models that you have for marriage? When I um sort of in the last couple of years of my last marriage, when I sort of thought about what we were like and how I wanted to be, and sort of realized that we weren't the kind of couple that I wanted to be, I have, and two couples come to my mind, real time couples that I've spent lots of time with and watched how they interact as partners. And I'm so grateful for these two couples in my life, Melissa and Jason, and Brooke and Sean. And I mentioned those two specifically because I've traveled with them. I feel like traveling is a really cool way to see how people really interact because it can get stressful. Um, there's a lot going on, like different feelings and personalities to navigate. And these two couples, just watching how they interacted traveling in a especially coming from my standpoint where traveling was a significant stressor in my own marriage, I really respected it. And I was like, wow, like I would really like my future partner to be a little bit more flexible and caring and go with the flow and these and loving and supportive and all of those things. So who are the positive role models that you have for marriage, and why do you look up to them? What do you like about their marriage? Again, going back to children, how many do you want to have children? How many do you want to have? I can't tell you how many people that I meet that are in relationships where they don't line up with their partner about children. And it's really hard, especially if like someone is like, I don't want to have children, and the other person's like, I do, but they're still trying to see if one person's going to change their mind. Like that might be just a hard pass. Like you got to be like, this is not going to work out because either one person's going to be resentful or one person's going to be constantly wishing the other person would change their mind. Finances and debt. Are you in debt? What kind of debt are you bringing into the marriage? How do you feel about finances? Being on a similar mindset when it comes to money is really helpful and can help you guys. Where do you prioritize your finances going? Are you a big saver, or do you believe more in like being in the moment and you know those types of things? Like have those kinds of discussions. How important is sex? Do you have any expectations when it comes to sex? I work with a couple who one of the parties in the couple is like, I insist that we have sex every day. That is the expectation of that relationship. I think that's a little much, but it works for them. And if it doesn't, we work on that in session. But how important is sex to you? Can you talk about sex? I've been in relationships where some people were not as open and willing to talk about sex, and it did become an issue because you want to be in an environment and with a partner that you can talk openly about what your needs are, what your wants are, what are your desires, what are your fantasies, what are each of yours love languages. This is a great thing to know, even just without being married or thinking about marriage or dating. What are your love languages? Because if I am a words of affirmation girl and my spouse is a physical touch person, I need to be able to communicate the way that I receive love by words of affirmation and also communicate in the physical touch because it's not second nature to me because it's not how I receive love. Religion in your life, how important it is to you. Where do you see that moving forward in terms of raising children? If that's the road you're headed down, how important it is to you. Do you see yourself? There was a discussion on Love is Blind where the guy, they they were not neither. Oh wait, I can't even remember what it was. But he did say he wanted her to go to church with him every week, and she was not religious. And I was like, ugh, I would not do that. To me, it was a red flag that he said that he wanted her to go with him, even though that wasn't her belief. Like, I think that's for me, because it's all of our effing journeys. I would easily say, okay, that's your thing, then you go to that, and I'll go fucking hike in the woods or something else. But again, if that's not a deal breaker for you, that's fine, but have that discussion. What does that look like to you? And is it something that you want to co-sign to too? This is Andre, only the best. Mango mimosa. Division of chores. Fuck the patriarchy. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm really not. Where are you with this? Where were you raised in a house? Like, this is something I wish I had a discussion with Tucker about in the very beginning. Like, I knew that he was raised in a household where they both worked full time. And I still would love to know like how the chores laid out. Maybe they just hired people or something. I'm not sure. But how do you see yourself and your spouse dividing up chores? Is it going to be equal? Is it not going to be equal? Is it not going to be equal because one of you is working out of the home and the other one's not? What does that look like to you? What does career look like to you? Are you going to, give all of your effort to building a career and putting your family on the back burner? Or do you really want to have a nice balance of how you spend your time? Travel, how important is that to you? Are you not willing to get on a plane to travel to Greece? Are you scared of boats? Like, will you only drive in a car on the East Coast? Like, what people's weird shit with travel is, but sometimes people say something and I'm like, oh God, I could never. How are you with traveling by yourself? For me, independence. Like, I'm gonna go to London and Paris by myself. Like, if you're not okay with that, you gotta go. Um, Cheating. How do you define cheating? Like, is kissing cheating? Is texting your messaging your ex on Messenger cheating? If you're sending a boob pic to them, is that cheating? Um, Communication in relationships. How do you communicate now? That's a huge one. I feel like every couple that I see wants to improve their communication. They want to go from either being passive aggressive or not having their needs met, or avoiding anger and managing their anger, and they want to learn how to assertively communicate with one another. How do you communicate? Do you resolve issues? Do you shove them down? Do they stew and simmer and freak out on your partner later? Do you agree with your partner's lifestyle choices? How do you feel about the way that they eat, how much they cook, how their exercises? um Time together, time apart. Are you going to be okay with supporting one another's hobbies? Or are you someone who feels like they should be with you all the time? What are your core values? What makes a difference to you? What matters to you? Um, One of the things that came up in Love is Blind was this was a hot one for me, because I'm really into into humanity. But they were talking she was talking about like Black Lives Matter, and the dude didn't even know. I don't even think he knew what she was talking about. I really, if I wish like she said to him, like, do you know who George Floyd is? Because I really feel like he didn't know who George Floyd is. He's a white man, so of course my fucking white man privilege radar was flying high like a police car. Um, but she was like, I don't know if I can do it. And he was open to learning more. So I think that was okay. I can't wait to see how that plays out in the future episodes, because it was really interesting. But she was like, this is a really big deal to me. Like, this became a really big deal in the last couple of years when Trump was elected the first time, and it matters to me now. So, like, can you join me moving forward and learning more about this? And, I don't know how that will look now, but I would imagine, like, if they are still together, hopefully he's at the rallies with her, and cheering on humanity right now. Um and then I also wrote down, this was another thing from Love is Blind, but one of the girls, I loved how it played out, because there was a guy who had two interests. And usually in this show, if someone's first choice chooses someone else, that other person who had a second one will choose the second one. And the viewers know it. We're like, okay, well, he wanted the first one first. And sometimes the second person never knows it, or they find it out on a later episode. Well, this girl, she found out that she was not the first choice. So she was like, you know what? Like, I know my person is going to choose me. They are going to choose me. I'm not going to have to worry about if they're going to choose me. I'm not going to have to worry about the energy. Like, this is not it. And she said no. So that guy walked away with no one. And I loved that, because, that energy of someone choosing you, like, I am ending my marriage, or my marriage is transitioning, let's say. I like that better. My marriage is transitioning right now. And it's not that my husband doesn't choose me, right? He wants to be with me, but it's like that energy of like, I want this so bad, and here's what I'm willing to do to make it work. And that's the energy that I'm looking for, right? Like that, like, I want to be with you, and I want to be a really active participant in this relationship, in this marriage. So I love that. Like, she chose herself. I am choosing myself. I am not going to be settling for something that is just average, or that I'm wondering, is this person really interested? Or I'm wondering about the energy level. No. And that's sort of coming back home, if you will, to how this all has played out for me in my life recently, and the twists and turns that it's taken. So I really thought that I wanted to um just have a sexual relationship with someone. That's what I thought that I could do. And what I have learned about myself through this whole talking to other people and dating other people a little bit is that I don't think my heart is ready. My heart, I don't think, is ready for all of this. And in addition to that, I think I was selling myself short in that I think I'm worth a lot more than just giving my body to someone. And this is really powerful to me because I thought it would feel okay to have my sexual needs met while sort of waiting for this partner to come along that could enhance my life. And I thought that in me sort of expressing this desire to have my sexual needs met while waiting, right? Not wanting, not being ready for a relationship, I am selling myself short. What I need to do and what I'm choosing to do right now, and as of the last couple weeks, is focus on me, and healing my heart, and really figuring it out what it is that I want and need, and really standing so strong on those things, almost like an elevator pitch in business, so that when I do decide to get back out into the wild or meet someone or have conversations with people, that I am so good at expressing what it is that I want and need, that I don't hesitate, I don't stumble, I don't mumble. I say clearly and crisply and with such conviction that if it's not cool for you, bye. But I want to share with you. So, and I mean, this was what, this is the last week that I've decided this. So this was about a week ago. I met a guy on a dating app. We've never met in person, but this was what I said to him. And this is me just sort of stepping into this version of myself. So again, as of today, I am no longer on the dating apps. Like, I have no interest in dating right now. But a week ago, when I was like, this is what I want, this is how I got better. And this is how I know I'm going to continue to get better, and how I know you can continue to get better too at expressing your wants and desires, because I was so proud of this. So we're talking. I think he said, I only took a screenshot of my answer. Oh, he said, "What are you into?" And I was like, life or sex?" And I think I had already expressed that I was only looking for sex. And he said, "Both." So this is what I said. I said, "Life, lifting, running, honest communication, music bingo, live music, travel, mental health, intentionality, kindness." That was it. "Sex, communication, honesty. I do not want a relationship, but also do not want to be the other woman if you're in a relationship, unless she knows and supports. Protection always. Condoms are a must. I want to hear that you are enjoying yourself, and I love being fingered. Sorry, TMI. Other than that, I'm pretty much open to whatever. I just don't want to be shit on or peed on." Like, how clear is that? And he responded like, "Awesome. We're on the same page. Like, this is amazing." And then he added in something about like wanting me to squirt. And I was like, that's one of my dreams, of the year. I'm not sure my body can do it, but that's an absolute dream of mine. Again, TMI. Sorry, not sorry. Ultimately, I never ended up meeting up with this individual, but it felt so good to practice that sentence and be like, this is what I'm into. This is what I'm all about. You can't hang with me, then you got to go. And here's the thing with all of this. Even if I had sat down with each of my marriages and gone over this list and we aligned on all things, you're still going to grow. You're still going to change. Like my political beliefs have shifted since 20 years ago. My religion, well, I don't think that that's changed, but definitely my mindset, my money mindset, like how I want to spend money, the way that I see the world, all of those things have shifted. So no matter how good you get at this stuff, or how much pre-marriage counseling that you do, or how many conversations they have on Love is Blind about all of the things that they think and feel, it doesn't guarantee the outcome that a relationship's going to last. It just doesn't. But I think these are awesome communication skills to have. If you can have these conversations openly and honestly, I think, what can't you do with someone? It doesn't mean you have to get along with all of them on it, or um or everything has to be in an alignment, but certainly like big things like kids. Do you want kids? That's a big one, right? Like, or even religion. If you're someone who wants your kids to be raised in a certain religion and the other person is not for it, like these are big things that what we call red flags. And I'll be honest with you guys. The reason that I never got together with this guy is that I found out he's a full-time smoker, which is one of my red flags. Like, kissing is really important to me, and I don't want to be kissing someone who smokes. So, what are the red flags for you? And are you willing to bend on certain things, And for me, which is what I've realized in this whole process of, talking to other people, is that there are things that I don't want to bend on. I think my heart is too delicate for casual sex, nor do I think I'm capable of it. And I also am beginning to believe that I'm worth a lot more than that. I'm worth someone wanting, like, not just my body, and I'm worth someone really making an effort and saying, like, this is what I want, and I want this, I want you. And I'm going to hold out for that, and I'm going to just focus on myself, and as I said, making sure that I'm so good at saying what I want, that I can depend on myself to do that. So I hope this was helpful to you guys today. That's another thing, is which I always like to mention, the condom stuff. That's a weird one that a lot of guys seem to not love, that you say that, and that to me is like, that's a red flag right there. I worked for years in the HIV and AIDS field. I saw some like older women get diagnosed who, they had been widows and went out into the world and contracted HIV and just didn't even know that that was possible. I mean, this is going back like 15 years. So, and a lot has changed since then, but still, like, that will not be my story. So, if you're out there and you have guys that are like really apprehensive to wrap it up, like, how me taking care of my body and making sure that there's a condom on that guy is my respect for my body. And I simply will not do it, if I'm not in a committed relationship. So don't, if that's a hard line for you, but you get pushback, don't fuck that guy. Like, don't do it. And also make sure that you're getting your regular STI tests. Now that I'm out in the world and, you know, that's something that I'm doing, or I already started it. So I'll be doing it every 3 months and making sure that I am up to date on all that stuff, because that's another way that I can love my body right now. Right. So hopefully this helps you guys. Please screenshot and share it in your stories. Send me your takeaways. And I can't wait to see how this podcast grows and changes as we sort of roll out this new format. I appreciate you being here, and I hope you have a great week. Mwah!